This is Del K. Burton. This is The Real Spiel. Let's deal with Kyrie right from the jump. I would like to first and foremost thank the Jewish professor Stan Mervish. The Jewish professor Stan Mervish, who wrote a detailed book on Jewish slavery in Jamaica. I will link the YouTube in the comments, and I will let you know something about what is taking place right now with Kyrie Irving and the understanding that he has and the understanding that I'm trying to get out to the rest of you. Stan Mervish articled the Jewish slave holders in Jamaica, identifying that Jewish slaveholders indeed, as much as other whites held slaves. They held slaves, they kept their slaves, they slept with their slaves, they had slave children, mulatto slaves, of which they bequeathed to their other ancestors. Jews did not free their slaves. In fact, more than not, they kept them and passed them on as property to their descendants. This is a Jewish man being extremely honest about the culpability of the Jewish people in just Jamaica alone of keeping their slaves and slavery in the 1800s. His name is Professor Stan Mervish out of, I believe it's Arizona State University. He speaks with another rabbi talking about why he wrote this book and why he did this study. His purpose essentially was to refute the Nation of Islam's claims that the Jews were worse slaveholders than the regular whites. And so he looked into this, trying to figure out, A, whether or not Jews of the 1800s actually had slaves and how did they treat their slaves. And I believe he was dumbfounded himself. He did come to the conclusion that Jews were not treating their slaves any worse, is what he said. They weren't treating their slaves any worse than anybody else. Because his predisposition was that he was going to make sure he found out whether or not Jews were treating their slaves worse than others. However, he did find out that the Jewish settlements had plantations of slaves. The Jews only had these large plantation settlements of slaves that were owned by Jewish people only. He found out a lot of things, and I'm going to link it for you. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, of all ethnicities, of all complexions, of all languages, of all ideologies, of all mindsets, that Kyrie Irving does not have to apologize to the Jewish community for not making a documentary. He doesn't have to apologize to the Jewish community and express that he is anti-Semitic when the Jewish community has demonstrated that it has been anti-black for many, many years. Furthermore, I believe it's April 28th, 1967, Muhammad Ali stood before an induction committee and refused to be inducted into the armed forces of the United States of America. Consequently, he was charged as a draft dodger, and he was convicted by an all-white jury, given 5 years in jail and fined $10,000, right? Convicted, 5 years in jail. The media took off. The New York Times wrote, what if we had 100,000 Muhammad Alis? What would happen to America? White journalists all over America repudiated him, said that he's the worst kind of black man. He's a disgrace to his country. Remember, this is 1967, when black people don't even have proper civil rights in America. This is 1967, where you still have white-only water fountains, white-only hotels. This is 1967, where black people still haven't been ratified the vote. In a country that says He's an embarrassment to his race. He's an embarrassment to his country. That he's not even a great boxer. Some of them said he's not even a great boxer. Does this sound familiar? I'm here to let you know that Kyrie Irving is the Muhammad Ali of this era. What has Kyrie done? Kyrie refused to be vaccinated. That was his first great offense. He refused to be vaccinated with an experimental vaccine. He refused to be vaccinated in order just to play a child sport. He refused to put his body, he refused to be an example to others and put his body in risk for a vaccine that had not been tested, for a vaccine that had not been vetted through the proper methodology that vaccines are vetted for. And he chose, I just won't play basketball if I have to be vaccinated. That's his right. Who did he hurt? Who did he actually hurt by sitting out and not playing basketball? He hurt himself. He hurt his finances. He didn't hurt anybody else. They banned him from the arena. They banned him from the arena, so he couldn't even show up in the arena. That somehow Kyrie Irving, an unvaccinated black male, would somehow contaminate the entire Brooklyn Nets. He would contaminate the NBA. These sports writers, these beat writers now, these pundits now are still saying that it would have been in the best interest of the Nets for Kyrie just to get vaccinated. That's Kyrie's crime, that he refused to be vaccinated. Do you know how many other millions of people around the world decided that they were not going to be vaccinated? That they were not going to allow a bunch of politicians to decide what was going to go inside of their arms or inside of their body for a disease that clearly nobody understood, for something that we know now. Vaccines couldn't stop it. Vaccines couldn't cure it. Vaccines couldn't prevent it in any way, shape, or form. We see now that the Supreme Courts of Canada, of America rather, are telling these employers, you've got to give these people their jobs back and give them the money from laying them off. And we still want to talk about vaccines? And now we've come so far with Kyrie Irving that we're saying that, and if he tweets something on social media, if he has an opinion, if he doesn't apologize to Zionists, let me tell you the difference, because maybe some of you don't understand the difference between a regular Jew and a Zionist, and it's very hard to tell. It's really hard to tell, especially when you're dealing with white Jews. It's very hard to tell. Zionism is white supremacy dressed up as Judaism. It's white supremacy dressed up as Jewish nationalism. Zionism is the idea that white Europeans are the Jewish nation and they should control Israel. It is the idea that their stronghold on the narrative of what is Jewish should be fought for, should be defended ferociously, and that anyone who comes against them should be crushed. Zionism is a bigger machine than you understand. David Silver is a Jew, but it's the Zionists. Adam Silver is a Jew, but it's the Zionists who are making him act now. It's the Zionists who are making him do everything that he has to do now. Please don't get it twisted. Zionism is as much terrorism as anything else. And you are seeing it in place here over a guy who's playing basketball. They tried to tax him $500,000. Why? For a tweet. That tweet was worth $500,000. Who is that money going to fix? Isn't it interesting that Jews, the offense of Jews, can be fixed with money? Isn't it interesting that every time that you offend a Jew, you can fix it with money? That's very interesting, that the emotions of an ethnicity, supposedly, it's not even an ethnicity, the emotions of religious whites who claim Jewishness feel that it can be fixed with money. The ADL was perfectly happy to receive $1 million and to call it a day. They were fine. This was done. It was a done deal. The Jewish community had been appeased. Their blood price had been paid. Their pound of flesh had been received. But what took place? David Silver was contacted by Zionists, and they said, that's not enough. that black man didn't say enough. We're going to need you to do what we put you here to do, to advocate for Zionism. I'm telling you, every Jew in power, every Jew in a position of power has to salute and respond to Zionism, or they will disappear. Or they will disappear. And Adam Silver was given his marching orders and told, hey, put out a statement, let him know that's not enough. Let him know. Those reporters standing there asking him questions over and over again, being browbeaten, and no one stopping it. No, there's nobody there stopping it. They had free reign on Kyrie Irving, asking him, do you hold any anti-Semitic sentiments? And Kyrie said very clearly, don't know where you've got this narrative from. This is not going to be a back and forth of questions and questions. I know where I come from, and because I know where I come from, I cannot be anti-Semitic. That is a very clear answer. The reporter said, I was looking for a yes or a no. You got more than a yes or a no. You got a very detailed answer. And you were told, I'm not going to answer this question twice. Because I know who I am, I cannot be anti-Semitic. That is a very clear answer. The answer has been written on social media for many of us to see. Kyrie Irving is the modern day Muhammad Ali. He is a man being persecuted for his beliefs. He is not being persecuted for any art form that he created, the documentary. He's not being persecuted because he said anything negative, hateful towards any organization. He's being persecuted because of his beliefs. Belief number one, he believes himself to be a Shemitic man. Belief number two, he believes he does not owe the Jewish community an apology. Belief number three is that because he tweeted something that somebody else wrote, or he acknowledged a truth of somebody else's opinion, he does not believe he requires to apologize to an entire ethnic group or religious group of people. He did not write it. He did not create it. He watched it like everyone else. He also does not believe that those people who are following him on his social media are part of his personal responsibility. They are fans. But he is right about this one thing. He does have an army. He has an army of black people. And Malcolm said it best. And I, as a Christian, will adopt Malcolm's expressive sentiments on this. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. But you're realizing right now, it's not enough. Your nation of millions can't hold anyone back anymore, because the black experience supersedes the borders of the United States of America. The African mentality and the understanding of where we come from and who we are, the understanding of the complexities and the depth and the history and the richness of culture of the black man brought up from Hamitic and Shemitic backgrounds cannot be stopped by any ideological premise. It cannot be stopped by any fake laws or fake bylaws created by the NBA, created by even the United States of America. It can't be stopped by media, and it cannot be stopped by Zionism. The United States of America has been served notice many times that you cannot stop black men.